You believe you are the sole author of your actions, the commander of your own ship, steering through the waters of life with deliberate intent. When you reach for your morning coffee, you feel the decision form in your mind. A clear command seems sent from your conscious self to your hand. When you tap your foot to a rhythm, you perceive it as a choice you just made. However, a wealth of scientific discovery suggests something far more paradoxical and fascinating is happening beneath the surface of your awareness. It appears that your brain often initiates the process of making a decision before you, the conscious observer, are even aware. This isn't a trick or a philosophical riddle. It's a demonstrable phenomenon. This concept can feel unsettling at first, as if a ghost is operating the machinery of our own bodies. It challenges the deeply ingrained narrative that our conscious mind is the absolute monarch of our physical realm. But rather than diminishing our sense of self, this insight offers a more intricate and complete picture of who we are. It reveals that our mind is not a single monolithic entity, but a complex collaboration between different systems. The scientific journey into the pre-conscious mind began with the discovery of a subtle but revolutionary brain signal. They named this signal the Bereitschaftspotential, a German term that translates to readiness potential. This is a slow buildup of electrical voltage originating in the motor cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning movements, responsible for executing movements. Think of it as the sound of an orchestra tuning its instruments moments before the conductor lifts the baton, an electrical hum that precedes the main event of a conscious action. To measure these faint signals, scientists use a technique called electroencephalography, or EEG. This involves placing a cap with small electrodes on a person's scalp to listen to the collective electrical chatter of millions of brain cells. The readiness potential is one specific pattern within this chatter. What made it so groundbreaking was its timing. The signal doesn't appear at the same time a person feels they decide to act, nor does it appear after. Instead, it consistently begins hundreds of milliseconds before, and in some experiments, even longer, sometimes up to 7 to 10 seconds, before conscious intention is reported. This was the first concrete, measurable evidence that the brain begins preparing for an action before we're consciously aware. It suggested our sense of a spontaneous decision is the culmination of preceding, unconscious neural events. To truly grasp this concept, let's walk through the classic experiment conducted by neuroscientist Benjamin Libet. Imagine you are a participant. You sit in a chair with a single button in front of you. A special clock is on a screen. A dot sweeps around much faster than a normal second hand. Your instruction: at any moment you choose, when you feel the spontaneous urge, press the button with your finger. Your only other task: remember the exact position of the dot the instant you first felt the conscious will to press. While you focus, scientists monitor your brain with an EEG cap. They care not about the clock or button, but the silent electrical symphony inside your skull. You let your mind wander. Then, a moment that feels entirely your own. You feel the urge. You note the clock's position, say the 15-second mark. You press the button. From your perspective, first the feeling to move, then the movement. It feels like free will in action. But scientists analyzing the data find a conflicting timeline. They align three events: the start of the readiness potential, the moment you reported the urge, and the actual finger press. Results are startling and consistent across participants. The readiness potential, that slow buildup preparing movement, did not begin at the 15-second mark. It began approximately 550 milliseconds, over half a second, before your reported conscious decision. The physical button press occurred about 200 milliseconds after your reported urge. The experiment shows a temporal gap between brain initiation and conscious awareness. It suggests conscious awareness is a checkpoint, not the originator. The revelation that our brain begins to act before we are consciously aware of a decision forces us to confront one of the oldest and most profound questions: do we have free will? If our brain has already set the wheels in motion, is our feeling of choice just an illusion? A story we tell ourselves after the fact? The answer is not a simple yes or no, but a call for a more sophisticated understanding of what will actually is. This science does not necessarily eliminate free will, but it certainly challenges the simplistic idea that it exists as a single, uncaused moment of pure conscious creation. Our choices are not made in a vacuum. They emerge from a complex interplay of unconscious processes and conscious reflection. One way to reinterpret this is to think of free will not as a power to initiate an action out of thin air, but as a power to approve, or more importantly, to veto an action. In his own analysis of the experiments, Benjamin Libet himself pointed this out. While the readiness potential began over 500 milliseconds before the action, there was still a small window of about 150 to 200 milliseconds between the moment of conscious awareness and the physical movement. He proposed that during this brief interval, our conscious mind has the opportunity to act as a gatekeeper. It can give the final go-ahead to the urge that has bubbled up from the unconscious, or it can step in and say, "No, stop." This is a form of free won't rather than free will. Our conscious self may not always be the author of the initial impulse, but it retains a crucial executive function. It can select which of the many competing urges generated by our brain are allowed to manifest as actions in the real world. This phenomenon of preconscious decision-making is not confined to the sterile environment of a neuroscience lab. It is a constant and active force in our daily lives, subtly guiding countless small choices we make every day. Consider the simple act of navigating a crowded grocery store aisle. As you push your cart, you effortlessly steer to the left, then slightly to the right to grab a can of tomatoes from the shelf. You are not consciously deliberating each of these micro movements. Your brain is processing a huge stream of sensory information, the positions of other people, the layout of the shelves, your own intended path, and initiating motor commands before you have time to consciously think, "I should move my hands this way to turn the cart." Think about a conversation. When you speak, words seem to flow out. While you have a general idea of what you want to say, you are not consciously selecting each individual word from a mental dictionary moments before you utter it. The intricate process of syntax, grammar, vocabulary retrieval happens at lightning speed in the background. The thought, "I think the economy is complex," emerges in your consciousness as a fully formed concept, but the neural groundwork was laid by unconscious processes. The same is true for the person listening, whose brain is predicting the end of your sentence before you've even finished it, a preconscious anticipation that makes fluent conversation possible. Another clear example is our quick reflexive choices. Imagine you're walking and unexpectedly step on an uneven piece of pavement. Before you have time to consciously register, "My ankle is turning," your body is already reacting. Muscles fire, your arms may flail to regain balance. This life-saving correction is initiated by fast, unconscious neural circuits. Even simple binary choices, like turning left or right on your commute, are often driven by these preconscious currents shaped by habit, memory, and subtle cues. By the time you think, "I'll go left," your brain's predictive models already leaned that way, conserving energy with efficient shortcuts. While the findings about preconscious brain activity are compelling, it is crucial to understand their limitations. The predictive power isn't absolute, often around 60%, far from the certainty needed to call choices predetermined. Most studies use simple, repetitive tasks in controlled labs. Complex decisions, careers, relationships, moral dilemmas unfold over days, weeks, or years and engage broader brain systems. "My brain made me do it" oversimplifies. Society expects conscious veto, our free won't, to inhibit harmful, illegal, or immoral actions. We remain responsible agents through learning, building good habits, and regulating impulses. Understanding unconscious biases shaped by environment, education, and past experiences adds nuance and compassion. The science doesn't absolve, but it can inform nuanced views of culpability in cases of impulse control disorders or extreme duress. So, what is the single clear takeaway from this journey into the preconscious mind? If our brains often begin to decide before we are aware, what can we do with this knowledge? The most powerful and practical lesson is the profound importance of the pause. Since consciousness often arrives late, its strength is in evaluating the impulse. Create a space between impulse and action. In that pause, align actions with deeper values and long-term goals. Notice urges as they arise. Ask, am I truly hungry or just bored? Does this align with my health goals? A deliberate pause can turn reactive impulses into reflective choices. Our awareness may not be first to the scene, but it can have the final say. Use the pause to guide the mind from the shadows to deliberate action.